My sister-in-law thinks she runs our lives, ruining my marriage." I snapped, and now my wife's family is furious at me. I am Scott, 30 years old, and my wife is Rebecca. She is 28. We have been married for 5 years and together for 7. Rebecca has an older sister named Dorothy, who is 32. Dorothy is, to put it mildly, a lot. I mean, she is Rebecca's sister, and I want to be respectful, but honestly, Dorothy is the kind of person who makes you roll your eyes so hard you can practically see your brain. From the moment I met Dorothy, she has been opinionated about everything, and not just like normal opinions. It's more like she has pronouncements, like she is handing down commandments from Mount Sinai, except the mountain is probably made of judgment, and the commandments are all about how you are doing everything wrong. It started small little comments here and there. When Rebecca and I first got engaged, Dorothy had a field day. Oh, the ring wasn't big enough. Oh, the venue was too rustic. Oh, Rebecca's dress choice was interesting. It was never outright mean, you know. It was always couched in this fake concern, like she was just trying to help. But you could tell, underneath it all was just pure, unadulterated criticism. Rebecca, bless her heart, always tried to brush it off. She'd say things like, "Oh, that's just Dorothy. She doesn't mean anything by it." Or, "You know how Dorothy is, she just wants what's best." I get that family dynamics are complicated, especially with siblings. But after a while, Dorothy's opinions started to feel less like sisterly concern and more like a constant barrage of negativity aimed directly at Rebecca, and by extension, me. It wasn't just wedding stuff either. It was everything. Our house, our furniture, our careers, our friends, even our dog. Dorothy had something to say about it all, and it was never positive. Never. I swear, if Rebecca cured cancer, Dorothy would find a way to criticize the method. Like, "Oh, curing cancer is great, but did you really have to use that shade of blue in your lab? So unprofessional." It got worse after we got married. Dorothy seemed to think that marriage was some kind of open invitation to insert herself into every aspect of our lives. She would just show up at our house unannounced, usually around dinner time, and then proceed to critique our meal choices. One time she came over when Rebecca had made lasagna, which, by the way, is amazing. Dorothy took one look at it and said, "Oh, lasagna again. Aren't you getting a little predictable?" Predictable. It's lasagna, Dorothy, it's delicious, and it's our dinner, not yours. Then there were the constant phone calls, and I mean constant. Rebecca would get calls from Dorothy multiple times a day, sometimes for hours. And what did they talk about? Mostly Dorothy complaining about her own life, which is fine, sisters talk. But it always circled back to Rebecca's life and how she could be doing things better. According to Dorothy, Rebecca's job wasn't ambitious enough, our vacations weren't adventurous enough, and even our hobbies weren't stimulating enough. Stimulating enough hobbies. Give me a break. We like to watch movies and play board games, Dorothy. Is that a crime? The thing that really got to me, though, was how Dorothy treated Rebecca. It wasn't just criticism, it was almost condescending. Like Dorothy thought Rebecca was incapable of making good decisions on her own. She would talk to Rebecca like she was a child, explaining things in this slow, overly patient voice that just dripped with patronizing. And Rebecca, poor Rebecca, would just take it. She'd smile and nod and try to appease Dorothy, even when it was clear that Dorothy was being completely unreasonable. I started to notice it was affecting Rebecca. She seemed more stressed, more anxious. She would second-guess every decision she made, always wondering what Dorothy would think. Our home, which should have been our sanctuary, started to feel like a pressure cooker, with Dorothy constantly hovering just outside, ready to pounce with her next judgment. I tried to talk to Rebecca about it. Gently, at first. I'd say things like, "Honey, do you think Dorothy is maybe being a little much?" Or, "You know, you don't have to listen to everything Dorothy says." But Rebecca would get defensive. She'd say, "Scott, she's my sister. She loves me, she's just trying to help. I know she can be a bit intense, but she means well." I understood Rebecca's loyalty to her sister, I really did. But it was like she was so used to Dorothy's behavior that she didn't even realize how toxic it was. Things came to a head a few weeks ago. It was Rebecca's birthday. I had planned a surprise dinner for her at her favorite restaurant. I had invited a bunch of our friends, and I was really excited to celebrate her. Dorothy, of course, was invited. And of course, Dorothy had to make it all about herself. We were at dinner, everything was going great. Rebecca was happy, our friends were having fun, the food was delicious. And then Dorothy started in. She started making comments about Rebecca's outfit. It was a beautiful dress, by the way, a lovely blue color that Rebecca looked stunning in. But Dorothy, in her infinite wisdom, decided it was too bold, too attention-grabbing. She actually said, "Rebecca, are you sure you want to wear something so revealing to your own birthday dinner, in front of all your friends?" I could see Rebecca's face fall. She tried to laugh it off, but I could tell she was hurt, and I was furious. I had had enough. I had been biting my tongue for years, trying to be polite, trying to respect family dynamics. But this was too much. On Rebecca's birthday, in front of our friends, Dorothy had to pull this crap, so I spoke up, maybe louder than I intended. I said, "Dorothy, with all due respect, shut up. Just shut up. It's Rebecca's birthday, she looks beautiful. And frankly, your constant negativity is ruining the evening. Can you just for once, just for tonight, be positive? Or at least be quiet?" The table went silent. You could have heard a pin drop. Dorothy's face went white. Rebecca looked at me like I had grown a second head. Our friends were just staring wide-eyed. Dorothy, after a moment of stunned silence, sputtered, "Scott, how dare you? How dare you speak to me like that? I am her sister. I am just trying to give her some sisterly advice." "Sisterly advice?" I said, "sisterly advice. Dorothy, your sisterly advice is nothing but constant criticism and negativity. You never have anything nice to say. You always have to put Rebecca down, and I am sick of it." "We are all sick of it, just leave her alone. Let her enjoy her birthday. For once, just be supportive." Dorothy burst into tears, real, dramatic, loud tears. She stood up, grabbed her purse, and stormed out of the restaurant. Rebecca was mortified. She kept saying, "Scott, what did you do? Why did you say that? You embarrassed me, you embarrassed her." I tried to explain myself. I said, "Rebecca, I am sorry if I embarrassed you, but I couldn't take it anymore. Dorothy has been treating you like this for years. She's always putting you down, always criticizing you, and you just take it. You let her walk all over you. I just wanted to stand up for you, for us." Rebecca was still upset. She said, "But Scott, she's my sister. We're family, you can't just talk to her like that. I know she can be much, but she doesn't mean to be hurtful. She just cares." "Cares?" I said, "Rebecca, that's not caring, that's controlling, that's toxic. And it's hurting you. It's hurting our relationship. I can't watch you be constantly belittled and criticized anymore." I had to say something. The rest of the birthday dinner was awkward, to say the least. Our friends tried to lighten the mood, but the tension was still there. Rebecca was quiet and withdrawn. I felt terrible for upsetting her on her birthday, but at the same time, I didn't regret what I said to Dorothy. It needed to be said. The aftermath has been intense. Dorothy, of course, is furious. She called our parents, Rebecca's and Dorothy's parents, and told them everything. Or at least, her version of everything, which I'm sure painted me as some kind of monster who verbally attacked her for no reason. Our in-laws called us, separately and together. They were all upset. They couldn't believe I had spoken to Dorothy like that. They said I was disrespectful, rude, and out of line. They said Dorothy was just trying to be a good sister, and I had no right to interfere in their family dynamics. They kept saying, "You don't understand, Scott. Dorothy is just Dorothy. That's just how she is. You need to learn to accept it. Accept it." I said to Rebecca's mom, "Accept Dorothy constantly criticizing and belittling your daughter. Accept her making Rebecca miserable." "No, I don't accept it, and I won't accept it. Rebecca is my wife, I love her. And I will not stand by and watch her be treated like this anymore. Rebecca has been caught in the middle. She loves her family, she doesn't want to cause drama, but she also knows that Dorothy's behavior is a problem. She admitted to me in a quiet moment that Dorothy can be a lot, and that sometimes Dorothy's comments do hurt her feelings. But she still feels obligated to defend Dorothy, to smooth things over, to keep the peace. I told Rebecca, honey, I am not asking you to choose between me and your sister. I just want you to see that Dorothy's behavior is not okay. It's not healthy. And it's affecting you. It's affecting us. We need to set boundaries. For our own good. For your own good. Rebecca finally agreed to talk to Dorothy, not to apologize for my behavior, but to talk about Dorothy's behavior, to try to explain how her constant criticism makes Rebecca feel. To ask Dorothy to maybe, just maybe, dial it back a notch. The conversation did not go well. According to Rebecca, Dorothy was completely defensive. She refused to acknowledge that she had done anything wrong. She said I had turned Rebecca against her. She accused me of being controlling and manipulative. She said I was trying to isolate Rebecca from her family. Basically, she doubled down on everything. Dorothy said to Rebecca, I can't believe you're taking his side. After everything I've done for you, after all the advice I've given you, after all the support I've shown you, you're choosing him over your own sister. Rebecca, to her credit, stood her ground. She said, Dorothy, this isn't about choosing sides. This is about you constantly criticizing me. It's about you making me feel bad about myself. It's about you not respecting my choices. Scott was out of line to yell at you, yes, but your behavior is also out of line. And it has been for a long time. I love you, Dorothy, you're my sister, but I can't keep living like this. I need you to respect my life, my choices, and my marriage. Dorothy, predictably, did not take this well. She hung up on Rebecca. And now we are in family drama central. Our parents are still upset with me. Dorothy is not speaking to either of us. And Rebecca is stressed and anxious, trying to navigate this whole mess. I know I probably could have handled things differently. Maybe I shouldn't have yelled at Dorothy at the birthday dinner. Maybe I should have pulled her aside and talked to her privately. Maybe I should have said something sooner, instead of letting it build up for years. But honestly, I was at my breaking point. I was tired of watching Rebecca be constantly put down. I was tired of Dorothy's endless negativity. And I was tired of being polite and respectful when Dorothy clearly had no respect for us. Never imagined I would need to post on our relationship advice, but here we are. I'm wondering if I was the asshole here. Was I wrong to finally snap? Was I wrong to speak to Dorothy like that? Should I have just kept my mouth shut and let Rebecca deal with her sister in her own way? Part of me feels guilty for causing so much family drama, but another part of me feels relieved. Like I finally stood up for myself and for my wife. Like I finally said what needed to be said. So Reddit, AITAH. Update 1. Wow, my phone has been blowing up with notifications since I posted this. I did not expect so many responses, but thank you all for your input. Reading through your comments, it's really validating to know that I'm not crazy and that Dorothy's behavior is actually as messed up as I thought it was. A lot of you are saying in TA, and honestly, that makes me feel a lot better. I was starting to second-guess myself, especially with all the backlash from Rebecca's family. A few people have asked for more details about Dorothy's behavior, so I'll try to give some more examples. It's hard to remember everything because it's been going on for so long, but here are a few things that come to mind. One time, Rebecca got a promotion at work. It was a big deal. She had been working really hard for it. We were both so excited. We told Dorothy about it, expecting her to be happy for Rebecca. Instead, Dorothy said, "Oh, that's nice, but are you sure you're ready for that kind of responsibility? It sounds like a lot of pressure, and you know how you get stressed easily. Maybe you should think about whether you really want to take on that much." Seriously. Instead of celebrating Rebecca's achievement, Dorothy immediately found a way to make her doubt herself. Another time, we were planning a vacation. We had saved up for a while and we were really looking forward to a relaxing beach trip. We told Dorothy about our plans and she said, "A beach vacation. Really? How boring. Don't you want to do something more culturally enriching?" Like go to Europe or something. A beach is just so basic. Again, just dismissing our choices and making us feel like we were doing something wrong for wanting to relax on a beach. And it's not just big things either. It's little things all the time. If Rebecca buys a new dress, Dorothy will say it's not flattering. If Rebecca tries a new recipe, Dorothy will say it's too complicated or not healthy enough. If Rebecca redecorates a room in our house, Dorothy will say it looks cluttered or dated. It's constant, never-ending. Some of you have asked if Rebecca has ever stood up to Dorothy before. Honestly, not really. Rebecca is a people-pleaser by nature. She hates confrontation. She always tries to keep the peace, even if it means sacrificing her own feelings. And Dorothy knows this. Dorothy takes advantage of it. Dorothy has always been the dominant one in their relationship. Rebecca has always been the one who tries to smooth things over. It's a dynamic they've had since they were kids, and it's really hard for Rebecca to break out of that pattern. That's why I felt like I had to step in. Because Rebecca wasn't going to do it herself. And I couldn't watch her keep getting hurt. I know I probably wasn't perfect in how I handled it. Yelling at Dorothy wasn't ideal. But I honestly don't know what else to do. Talking to Dorothy calmly and rationally has never worked. She just dismisses it, or turns it around, or plays the victim. She is very good at manipulating situations to make herself look like the wronged party. A lot of you are suggesting therapy for Rebecca, and honestly, I think that's a great idea. I've mentioned it to her before, but she's always been hesitant. Maybe now, after all this drama, she'll be more open to it. I think she needs someone to help her process all of this, and to learn how to set boundaries with Dorothy and her family. As for what's happening now, things are still tense. Dorothy is still not speaking to us. Our in-laws are still giving us the cold shoulder. Rebecca is still stressed, but I think she's also starting to realize that maybe, just maybe, I was right to say something. She told me yesterday that she was actually a little bit relieved when I stood up to Dorothy. She said it was like someone finally said what she had been thinking for years. That gave me a little bit of hope. I'm not sure what the future holds. I don't know if Dorothy will ever change. I don't know if our relationship with Rebecca's family will ever be the same. But I know I did the right thing. I stood up for my wife, and I will continue to stand up for her, even if it means dealing with family drama. Because Rebecca's happiness and well-being are more important to me than anything else. Thank you all again for your support and advice. It really means a lot. Update 2. Okay, another update. Things are progressing slowly. There's still a lot of tension, but there are also some signs of hope. First of all, Rebecca and I had a really good talk last night. After reading through more of your comments and thinking about everything that's happened, she's starting to see things more clearly. She admitted that Dorothy's behavior is not just annoying, it's actually harmful. She said she realizes now that she's been letting Dorothy walk all over her for years, and that it's time to change that. She said she's tired of feeling like she's never good enough, tired of constantly seeking Dorothy's approval, and tired of living in fear of Dorothy's criticism. This was a huge breakthrough. For Rebecca to actually acknowledge the problem and to express her feelings so openly, it was a big step forward. We talked about setting boundaries with Dorothy. We talked about limiting contact, at least for a while. We talked about Rebecca going to therapy, which she is now seriously considering. She even looked up therapists in our area last night. That's progress. As for Dorothy, there hasn't been any direct contact. She's still not speaking to us. But interestingly, our mother-in-law called Rebecca yesterday. And this call was different from the previous ones. Instead of being angry and accusatory, our mother-in-law was almost apologetic. She said she had been thinking about everything that happened at the birthday dinner, and about everything Rebecca had said to Dorothy on the phone. She said she realized that maybe, just maybe, Dorothy does go too far sometimes. She admitted that Dorothy can be overbearing, and she said she was sorry for not seeing it sooner. Our mother-in-law didn't fully apologize for Dorothy's behavior, and she definitely didn't apologize for her own initial reaction to me yelling at Dorothy. But it was a start. It was a softening of her stance. She even said she was going to talk to Dorothy herself to try to mediate things. That was completely unexpected. Rebecca was cautiously optimistic after talking to her mom. She said it was the first time her mom had ever acknowledged that Dorothy might not be perfect. She said maybe, just maybe, there's a chance for Dorothy to actually listen and reflect. I'm still skeptical, to be honest. Dorothy seems pretty set in her ways. But I'm willing to hope for the best. We haven't heard from Dorothy directly yet, but apparently, according to our mother-in-law, Dorothy is upset, shocked, and maybe, just maybe, a little bit confused. Our mother-in-law said Dorothy was actually crying on the phone, saying she didn't understand why everyone was so mad at her, saying she was just trying to help, saying she didn't mean to hurt anyone's feelings. Now, whether Dorothy is genuinely remorseful or just playing the victim, I don't know. It's hard to tell with her. But the fact that she's even questioning herself, even a little bit, is a good sign. Maybe this whole drama, as unpleasant as it's been, will actually be a wake-up call for her. Maybe it will force her to take a look at her behavior and to consider the impact it has on others. I'm still prepared for things to get worse before they get better. Dorothy might double down on her behavior. Our in-laws might revert back to being angry at me. Rebecca might get overwhelmed and back down. But for now, there's a glimmer of hope. Rebecca is feeling stronger and more empowered. Her mom is starting to see things from our perspective. And even Dorothy might be starting to realize that she can't just steamroll over everyone else's feelings. I've learned a lot from this whole experience. I've learned that sometimes, you have to be the one to stand up and say enough is enough, even if it's uncomfortable or causes conflict. I've learned that family dynamics can be incredibly complicated and toxic, and that setting boundaries is essential for your own well-being. And I've learned that having a supportive partner who has your back is the most important thing in the world. Rebecca and I are going to take things one day at a time. We're going to focus on our relationship, on our own happiness, and on setting healthy boundaries with Dorothy and her family. We're not expecting Dorothy to suddenly become a different person overnight. But we're hoping that this whole situation will be a catalyst for change. For Dorothy, for our family, and for us. And whatever happens, we'll face it together, because that's what partners do. And because, at the end of the day, our relationship is what matters most. Thank you for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so and hit the notification bell to stay updated on more shocking real-life stories happening around you.